Good morning, everyone. My name is Leah Anderson. This is 1 Million Cups Madison. Welcome and thank you for joining us. So we just wanted to take a moment to say hello, give a thank you to our sponsors, and then do some introductions before we get started with the presentation today. So first of all, thank you to 100 State. They're very generously donating our coffee for the next 6 months. It comes from Crescendo, which is a great independently owned shop on Monroe Street that has always been our coffee provider, so you should go check them out. They're wonderful. And then thank you to Baird, again, for providing the donuts. And then, of course, thank you to Field 59, who is live streaming and has been for many months now, and we really appreciate that. If you are not able to be here today, you can obviously, or in the future, you can watch the live stream from Field 59, and then they also actually post all of our presentations on YouTube. So if you ever want to catch up on any that you missed, you can look there. So we can go around the room and do some quick introductions, and then we'll let Rosie and Ross take it away.
Hi, I'm Steve, co-founder of 32 Auctions, which is a platform for hosting and managing silent auctions.
I'm Kurt Peterson, the other co-founder of 32 Auctions.
I'm Spencer Verkey. I'm a UW student here.
I'm Tom Willis. I'm a technology consultant.
Hi, I'm Alex Ryan. I work for a large company in the solar industry, looking to get back into the startup ecosystem.
I'm Ben with Robert W. Baird.
Hi, I'm Melissa from Creative Business Interiors.
I'm Dan Anderson from Baker Tilly.
And I actually forgot to say where I work. I work at Nordic. Derek, you want to do?
Sure. I'm Derek Kepler from Field 59.
I'm Matt Health, digital marketing consultant.
My name is Brent Gerlach, and I like to have fun at 100 State.
Eric Orthy, American Family Insurance.
Lee Shanahan, American Families Innovation Team as well.
Drew Corson, I'm an attorney with Snyder & Boucher.
I'm Rebecca, I'm with Rosie and Ross.
I'm Kristen, I'm with Rosie and Ross.
And Eric Steege with Rosie and Ross.
Yeah. All right.
So are you ready to go?
Ready to go.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity to present today. We're excited. This is our first, I guess, public sort of talking about this. So it's sort of like good practice for us as we prepare. Rosie and Ross, just some quick background story. We actually work for American Family Insurance, but we're been part of a team that have been asked to test out some new concepts around the home space. We insure a lot of homes, but insurance is a pretty low customer satisfaction industry. We have very few positive touch points. The touch points that we typically have are you're paying your bill or you're trying to get a claim paid out and processed. And so, like all insurance companies, I think we're trying to figure out how to create more positive customer interaction, positive customer-consumer experience. And one of the ways we're looking at is in the home. So this is some concepts that we're testing locally through some pilots, and at the end of it, we're going to be asking if anybody's interested in participating with the pilot. So, some things to keep in mind. Our director had one ask. She thought this was an awesome opportunity, but just she was like, please just don't have any newspaper articles written about us. So it's a little presumptuous. But I think one interesting thing about working inside a big corporation is just a little bit, as a startup, I think, PR is a really good thing. You're trying to get the word out. We're pretty early on, and we're trying to, I think, be mindful of us sort of testing and iterating and trying to sort of be a little bit in more stealth mode. So just wanted to say that. So basically, the vision is, and the marketing people on our team kind of got mad at me when I said this. My vision for Rosie and Ross, and it's like 99.9% aligned with everybody else on my team, is to make homeownership less sucky. The marketing people said, look, let's make homeownership awesome. So basically, how many of you own a home? Okay, pretty good turnout. So there's a lot of things around the American dream and owning your own walls, and we've talked to a lot of renters and a lot of homeowners about the positives of home ownership, but there's also a lot of negatives and burdens about owning a home. And we're going to sort of talk about some learnings that we've had from talking to a lot of homeowners, and also some potential solutions on how to make homeownership more awesome. So the big thing about owning a home, and this probably isn't new new news for anybody that does own a home, but it's good to go out there and validate with real customers, which you've done a lot of, is homeownership is complicated and unpredictable. And just an interesting stat, over about $6,000 on average is spent on sort of unseen, unexpected costs around your home, around the average American home. And when you're going into buying a home, a lot of homeowners don't realize or don't budget for sort of that part of the budget. They see the sticker price, but they don't see all the sort of hidden costs to owning a home. Some other problems that we heard homeowners speak about. Don't know how to sort through all the information. So we're in this time and age of having, obviously, like lots of industries, having all the information you need at your fingertips, but it's just really hard to get reliable information and to weed through all of it and what's contextually relevant to your specific problem in that specific moment. Another big problem is not knowing that they're even getting the right solution. And we'll talk about some of the solutions out there that do this, but it's not always as simple as connect me with a plumber. A lot of it is getting the diagnosis right on the front end. And so that's a big problem. Am I even like identifying the right problem, and is the solution then the right solution for this home problem? And then just don't have time to connect with a pro. Good pros are in high demand. They turn business away. You don't want to go with a bad home expert, and even sometimes they leave jobs midway through for a bigger bid or a bigger job. So there's just there's not a lot of leverage that the homeowner has in this market where there's a lot of demand for good home professionals. So some ultimately desired outcomes of homeowners that we identified and that we're going to try to address, and we'll talk through sort of some solutions we're testing next, is basically, the ultimate solution is they just want their problem fixed. But sort of drilling down into like the 5 whys and sort of what the root causes of this is, they really want to sort of feel more empowered in making decisions. There's a lot of people that are feeling like they're forced to make decisions without having all the information, or just making decisions that they're not confident about. And one example is, I'm out of my element, I don't understand the scope as a homeowner we talk to. Quickly finding the right resource in terms of quality and price and availability is really difficult. Again, if you don't know what the right problem is, and you sort of have questions on the very front end, is like, is this even a major problem? Or is this something that I can sort of delay for a couple months? You just don't have all the information to make a confident decision on knowing quality and price and availability. You can read the quote there. The third big problem we identified, or I guess outcome that people wanted, was having a responsive home resource. Has anybody recently tried to call and get bids on a home project? Like how long I don't know, how many phone calls or how long did that process take? Do you have a sense? Okay. Oh, okay. So you got your responsive, trusted resource. Okay. So that's great. We started interviewing homeowners that they're like, yeah, my husband is a contractor, or my grandpa's a contractor. And like, okay, well, that's interesting. We don't want to talk to you because you already solved your problem. But it's sort of, okay. Yeah, so like, how did that process play out for you?
Well, I come from the business world, and I'm a
Mm-hmm.
And so when I didn't get a response, I followed up
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah. Okay. And then the last tips to save money on repairs. So a lot of people have this, I want to do a rough out, I want to complete part of it up to where I'm comfortable and confident, and then hire a pro. Like, help me save money, help me DIY up to a certain point, and then I'll bring in the expert. So it's sort of that, they want a little bit more coaching through the process. And Rebecca is our embedded home expert. She came from years of being a home inspector, and now she's joining our team as sort of a home consultant. And Rebecca, I just wanted to ask you, do you have any like direct stories around any of those sort of pains and outcomes?
Well, sure. First of all, we have the myth of the 3 bids, right? You guys own homes. When you want something done, how many bids do we normally, ask people to get? It's at least 3. Like, that's the smart thing. You have another answer? No? Okay, good. I thought maybe you were like 5. But 3 is good. But when you get those 3 bids, like, first of all, the homeowner will have an idea. I want to redo my bathroom. They'll get the first bid, and between the first and the second bid, maybe the first contractor sparked their imagination, and pretty soon, it's not just the bathroom, it's the bathroom, hallway, kitchen. So by the time they get the second bid, something else is going on. Or when they get the 3 bids, you look at them, and if it's just the bathroom, it's still not apples to apples. It's way off, and I see a lot of heads nodding. You guys have all had this experience, right? So what we want to do too is just to be kind of the master of the bidding process. We want to go to a home, know what the scope is, talk to the homeowner about that scope, make sure that for this bidding process that just can't creep up into a giant, I want a whole other house alongside my house by the time this is done. And then actually be able to analyze the bids and create a more apples to apples experience. And then other things that I can talk about anecdotally are just I can go to your house and do a pretty good job of scoping it out and telling you what you might need or not. But if it's my own home, and because we all have emotions around our own home, I might need that same assistance. It's like a doctor can't operate on themselves. So even though something might be very glaringly obvious to any one of us, like we had a case last week where someone wanted some landscaping done. They had a family friend that was a professional landscape designer, beautiful drawings. What's the next step? Anyone? After you get drawings, you want landscaping work done? Bids. You talk to landscapers. We said, we'll get you some landscapers to come in and give you bids, and that was helpful. So just little things like that, because of societal pressures, work pressures, not having a lot of time, kids, little things are becoming bigger problems than maybe they were a generation or two before.
So those are a couple of the problems that we're trying to tackle. I think it's important to start talking about what other solutions are out there too. And obviously we don't want to create a redundant solution, but something sort of that's around an unmet need. And so going way back, sort of the analog is the yellow pages, right? Like that was, maybe life was simpler back then where you just thumb through one resource, and it was sort of the business model was the more ad spend in yellow pages, usually the bigger, faster you could grow your business. So there's sort of a direct correlation between yellow page ad spend and leads. Then the next sort of internet 1.0 was sort of the Angie's List and Yelp, where there was ratings. So we talked to a lot of people that actually don't trust ratings. They think people, we heard stories of contractors saying, hey, I'll take $100 off your job if you give me a 5-star rating. And so there's a lot of sort of gaming the system around that. And it's like you don't know who these people are. Like they're just some random people that you've never met. Marketplaces got a little bit better, I think, around, and these are familiar, I don't know, anybody use Thumbtack or some other sort of bidding marketplace for your home? So basically combine ratings and somewhat vetted service providers and allow them to bid on your job or to follow up and give you a bid on your job. But again, those still are, take quite a bit of time and are pretty inaccurate in terms of what they're bidding on and what you might ultimately end up paying. And now there's the on-demand everything, where you can go hire out everything from somebody to go pick up your dry cleaning to doing, a small handyman task like fix your doorknob, in under 90 minutes. So those are all pretty sweet in their own way, but what's wrong with this is we feel like current solutions do allow people to sort of efficiently get access to home experts, somewhat, but homes are more complicated, and home ownership is more complicated, unpredictable. So a home's a dynamic thing. Home inspection reports actually only are legally last for 2 years because they understand that your home is constantly changing. And so how do you deal with that unpredictability around home projects? And then secondly, no company has really changed the consumer experience. So it's been sort of the same, somewhat stale consumer experience, and with some digital tools and some sort of new business models, we think there's an opportunity to fundamentally change the way homeowners manage their homes. And another critical assumption that we think is actually the biggest one is a lot of the current companies out there have the assumption that we're good property managers of our homes. And how many people here say they're in the top 5% property managers in Madison for their home? See, nobody. So it's sort of a failed assumption that if you just provide people a way to easier and quicker access and cheaper access service providers, that you're going to actually still do it, or that you have enough knowledge, contextual knowledge around the problem or around planning around how to maintain your home, that you're going to be able to do it. So a lot of the current solutions are just trying to speed up and make more efficient connecting, the transaction between a homeowner and a service provider that's been happening for hundreds of years. And we think there's a fundamental, some more comprehensive value that we can add to the homeowner to help them get more knowledge and make them be more confident around managing their home. And we'll talk about sort of some of those ideas next. So here's a quick video. This person on the video might look familiar to who's going to talk next.
Are you overwhelmed with research about a home repair and frustrated you can't find a trusted resource? Houses are full of unexpected repairs, and there's no shortage of different opinions out there. But who can you trust? Rosie and Ross is here to help assess the scope and urgency of your repair. We walk through what to expect and answer your questions. Best of all, our home experts are not contractors looking for a sale, so we act in your best interest, helping you find the right solution at a fair price. Call Rosie and Ross. We'll get your home back in order.
So, do you want to talk to this part? All right. So Kristen's up next, talking a little bit more how we're leading towards some solutions.
Yeah, so thanks, Eric. That was a good background for some of the vetted customer problems that we have built our solution based on. And so we've been testing Rosie and Ross, which you just saw a short clip intro to that solution, since February, locally here in Madison, and also trying to do some remote testing nationally to see how we can offer value in different ways to homeowners. And so there's this old way, which we you kind of gave us an example of what the old way looks like. And so we're trying to create the new way, or the Rosie and Ross way, which is easy and empowering to get bids. So this is basically that when you notice that something needs fixing and you don't know where to turn next, you just call Rosie and Ross. They're your first call for your home needs. And then basically they take it from there. So they're going to manage your home problem for you, and to offload all the burden of the calling and the follow-up and trying to get responsive home pros to your home. And through the relationships that we build with home professionals, we're actually able to ensure more responsive and higher quality work as well. From there, we will actually schedule out the bids for you, as Rebecca mentioned, kind of manage that process to make sure that you're getting apples to apples comparisons at the end, and you actually have actionable data that you can use to make an empowered decision at the end of that process. And then we'll be there for you for your next repair as well. So this is just a screenshot from our website, which you can check out at rosieandross.com. And these are some of the suite of solutions that we're testing currently. So we have kind of the full project planning process that we described, but we can also help homeowners in kind of more ad hoc ways as they need different solutions throughout their homeownership journey. So home repair estimators, if you just kind of need to know, like, is this a totally urgent thing that I need a professional to come in, or is this something that I can kind of take some time and figure out how to DIY myself, we can help kind of assess the scope of your project, the bid scheduling service. If you already kind of know who you want to work with and you just want to make sure that that responsibility is offloaded because you don't have time to deal with it, we can help with that. Fair price check. If you've gone through most of the process yourself already and you have these bids that you just don't know what to do with, they're ranging from like $2,000 to $10,000, and you don't actually know if they're within the same scope of each other, we can actually assess your bids and help you figure out the next step and how to move forward with some of those solutions. And DIY coaching and home expert on call. So these are just really value-added features as part of our solution that a lot of homeowners, especially first-time homeowners or millennials, need some of this help. They don't have the skills built up yet to be effective property managers for their home. So they're looking for that resource to be able to call. So we're just going to take a couple minutes here to do a quick Q&A. If anybody, you can kind of experience this home expert on call concept in person. So Rebecca is going to be on call today. If anyone has any like burning projects that you just haven't been able to get off your to-do list, or you have a quick question that you want to ask Rebecca, we can take a couple minutes to do that right now.
So think of this as like our talk, but home talk, So we want people to like describe the sound that their air conditioning is making to click and clack, but it's actually Rebecca. Yeah.
So our garage door is in kind of rough shape. We bought our house last year, and it had actually been vacant for like 30 years. It's a 50s ranch, and it has, as far as we know, the original garage door whenever a garage door was put in. It has an old motor. We're wondering how... We've been kind of putting it off because we don't know what a good price for that is and if we can try to do it ourselves or not.
You can definitely do it yourselves. The thing I would look at is just to see how it's structured, because today's garage doors, might be a little bit different on the tracks. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably the biggest thing. But if it's just replacing the motor, you can definitely do that yourself.
It'd be the motor and the door.
And the door.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend doing the door yourself. The door is the heaviest moving object in the home. They can weigh up to 600 pounds. You don't think so because you've got that nice chain and everything is really smooth.
I got you.
But,
He's my neighbor.
Maybe your contractor friend could come over and just do the door immediately.
I had a guy come in and try to do our garage door and almost crushed himself.
Yeah, it's not something that you want to do on the weekend. Save your back. And call a pro to actually switch out that door.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, for the sake of time, we're going to keep moving, but there will be more Q&A at the end if anyone has any questions that pop up. Okay, so that's the solution we've been testing locally, and we've worked with about 20 to 30 homeowners, both locally and nationally, to solve some problems for them over the past couple months. And some of the things we've learned and found is that these are actually pretty long tail solutions. So even that fix is not as simple as you come out once and you get a clear answer and then you move forward. So we continue to work with our clients throughout the process and make sure that they get their repair fixed at the end of this. So we've been working with some folks for about a month to make sure that they're happy and they have peace of mind at the end and that their home is safe. So what's next? We still think there's a big problem that we're not fixing with this solution, and that's the problem of unpredictability in homeownership. So we can be there to help solve the time and the knowledge gap for people, but it's still fairly unpredictable when things are going to break, and these are unexpected expenses that you get at the last minute, which is a pressure on everybody. So we're looking at combining our personal assistant solution, Rosie and Ross, that we've been testing, with digital tools to help create this awesome homeownership experience. So the digital tools will act as a way to actually collect home data and centralize it in a way that makes it actionable for homeowners. So we can actually send you maintenance reminders, collect all the specific information about your appliances and some of the big ticket items in your home, so that we can alert you when they're kind of coming to the end of their life and you might want to start looking for deals or saving for some of those repairs, so that you don't end up in a crisis moment. We actually just have a short video that we want to show again, that we're partnering with some other cool startups in this space to pilot some solutions, both locally and across the country. And so this is one of the ones that we're looking at. It's called House Happy Tracks, and they have a really awesome video that we want to show you today. Oops.
Introducing House Happy Tracks, an app accessible from any mobile or desktop device that stores your home's DNA. You will have a record of maintenance, projects, and scheduled specific service reminders to keep your home on track. Managing your home just became a lot simpler. A House Happy Home Services specialist comes to your home to do a thorough data collection. It takes about an hour. You'll be notified by email when your report is ready, and from then on, we've got your back. We'll help you find professional home services providers, give you personalized service updates and reminders, and you can record and keep track of home projects. House Happy Tracks helps you be prepared for the unexpected. Cleaning your gutters is easy to ignore until they start overflowing. We will send you a seasonal reminder, including recommendations for an approved service professional in your area. The best part is, getting a quote is easy, because the linear feet of your gutters was recorded in the home assessment. No wasted time with home visits for estimates. You love your home, and it's one of the biggest purchases you may ever make. With House Happy Tracks, your house can have an efficient and sophisticated support system. Let us help you take the stress out of caring for your home. House Happy. Find happy, stay happy.
So we've seen a lot of tools come kind of popping up in the marketplace related to digital home tools, but a lot of them are unsupported by a personal assistant, which means that you, again, are in charge of not only being the property manager, but being a data entry expert about your home data. And so we think that that's unreasonable for homeowners, and we see a lot of people that are interested in having that data, actionable data at their fingertips, but don't want to take the time or have the knowledge to get it into the system in the right way that makes it actionable. So we're partnering our personal assistant tool with the digital tools to be able to create a truly customized and actionable experience for homeowners. And so we're going to be starting to pilot this later this month, and our ask for you today is if you are a homeowner and you want more help kind of with actionable data for your home and having access to a personal assistant, we'd love to get you signed up for the pilot. We're going to put some sign-up sheets over by the donuts, so we'll bribe you with donuts for that as well. And just, no pressure. We really, as we test, the best thing you can do for us is if you are truly interested, sign up. If you're not, that's totally fine. We're trying to get real signals from homeowners about what's interesting and helpful to them. So if you're interested, please sign up. So that's Rosie and Ross and where we're at, and I think I'll turn it over to you for some Q&A. Okay.
The format, raise your hand, I'll run the mic over to you. It's not for amplification. Steve, I know you got questions. Hold on. As is the case of the last couple weeks, if I see you looking at me or not looking at me, I might call on you. So just think of questions, even if you don't have any in mind right now. So take it away, Steve.
Thank you. Great presentation. An exciting product. The one thing that I'm looking for, though, is what's the business model here?
The hardest question. I mean, truthfully, we're still trying to figure that out. But we have some. So we're trying to figure out, like, is there a subsidized way that we can offer this as a value add to our customers, or can it be a standalone product that we charge money for? And we've done some early price testing, and I guess TBD on that. But we're trying to figure out through. So the front end from the consumer-facing part, willingness to pay and how much, and we have some signal on that. And then the data generated from that, from this, will allow us. One interesting learning that we had is because we're pulling together all this information about a project, our assumption that we need to test then is that contractors will be more, they'll be more valuable to contractors. Contractors, bid projects all the time. I think we've heard ratios from they get every 1 out of 4 projects they bid on, they actually get, all the way, even as high as like 1 out of 8. So can we streamline and get more qualified and more, more detailed information about a project that they can go, that we can shop around and get bids on? Like, what would that be worth to a contractor? And then there's the, another revenue source is sort of general, some cross-selling opportunities for insurance products or other things for American Family, which we are first trying to find what would be most valuable to a homeowner and stand alone, and then evolve it into maybe something that would be cross-sold to our current customer base, cross-sold. So those are some areas of revenue that we're interested in. Another thing we're looking at is trying to, realtors are also a trusted part of the ecosystem. They somewhat play this role, like this personal home assistant role, for some of their clients. I'd say some of the good realtors do that. That's how they're trying to differentiate. And is there a way we could help them through sort of partnership or sort of, sales channel partners to offer this sort of on behalf, or co-branding this on behalf of their customers with our solution. So we're looking at a couple of those sort of sales channel partners and revenue models. Somewhat vague, but that's sort of where we're at, to be honest. Yeah, you got the mic, so you can.
Eric, you mentioned potential revenue enhancement for American Family. It has to be also, I assume, on the claim side. If someone knows when their furnace or their water heater might go on the fritz, to be able to avoid that certainly prevents claims, doesn't it, if you're a policyholder?
Yep.
So I would think that side too is
for sure
important, right?
Yeah, well, I think naturally it's easy for us, American Family, to think about sort of our current business model and like what would help us as our, solve an insurance problem for us. So getting better data would be very advantageous to us. But sort of the challenge that we set out on is like, how do we not sort of push a solution onto somebody, but actually create a solution that people really want, that's valuable enough that they would share valuable data with us. So I think, yeah, exactly right. But we're trying to look at from the, customer, homeowner side of things first, and then is there ways we can extract value back to American Family or back to us as a potential standalone business or not?
Associations can help market this. I mean, right now we have a very vibrant neighborhood email.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for services, recommendations, and it really works quite well. So it covers the gamut.
Yeah.
From landscaping to plumbers, all types of things.
Yeah. You might have seen some of our postings for customer interviews on a neighborhood listserv. I don't know. I think there was
real briefly, I enjoyed the presentation, and I'm thinking through, it's obviously anecdotal examples, but there's a lot of seemingly like crowdsourcing of solutions. I know my Facebook feed and my wife's is littered with neighborhood messages. Hey, the dishwasher broke. Who did you guys use? And it's just kind of underground network of moms club people that all of a sudden have these answers. Have you guys talked about that? Because I think that's a very social, common now. That's a common way to kind of resource and research providers. I don't know. I'd be curious if you guys have talked that through at all.
If other people have.
Yeah, we've actually used a lot of those channels in our efforts to be able to start to learn about homeowner needs. So through kind of our empathy work, we've leveraged a lot of those channels. We're definitely keeping a close eye on them. Nextdoor is a great example of one that's a really trusted resource for homeowners right now, and they have no business model to date. And so we're trying to be careful when we're this early on to not misuse some of those channels that try to steer clear of sales. But I think another important point there is like word of mouth is going to be incredibly important as a marketing tool for Rosie and Ross as well down the line. But we also have heard quite a bit of skepticism about, so people went from, we talked about the evolution from ratings to realizing, oh, ratings are just like paid advertising under a different form, to sort of this more grassroots word of mouth recommendations model. But it's still not a truly customized option. So someone might have a completely different situation than you did, or their house is way tinier than yours is. And so we have heard a lot from customers wondering, like, is what my neighbor recommending, like, how do I know that they got quality work done? Or sure, they were happy, but did they get a fair price? And so some of those underlying questions still exist in those recommendation channels that we're trying to help solve for some of that as well. But they're really powerful sources for us too. So we're keeping close eyes on them.
And I'd say, it's hard to compete for with a good free solution, right? And so I think that's sort of maybe what you're hinting at. And we think that those recommendations are great, but I think we can add value on making better decisions and still putting more leverage into the homeowner. Like, the homeowner still doesn't have a lot of leverage, even if they get a good recommendation for a plumber. The plumber might not call them back for 3 weeks, or the plumber might not. You get two bids and it's like a $500 solution and a $5,000 solution. Like, what the heck do I do with that information? So I don't think we're trying to replace the good local, like, talk to your neighbor, like, who do you have solve this? But we're trying to think, sort of empower and solve a different problem probably than sort of that free solution. Oh, Rebecca, did you have any thoughts on? Okay.
I was just curious if Rosie and Ross, has anything in place for capacity building for homeowners? Because I know one of your prerogatives is to create positive touch points. And do you have anything in mind beyond just like helping them solve problems, like helping them actually have a better relationship with their home? Because I know that's a big part of being a homeowner, is developing a relationship, learning how to do things. And if beyond just solving problems, if you can help build capacities among homeowners, that would become, I think, more of a positive touch point for people when they're thinking about like American Family Insurance, because of AmFam, then people have better relationships with their homes?
Yeah, I think that's on the table. Sort of one of our objectives is potentially create a platform for homeowners that could solve sort of the people that want to be somebody. So one of the analogies a customer uses, like, oh, you're like a wedding planner for my home, and sort of like we're trying to sort of increase the homeownership experience, not try to like minimize it and make it go away. And so I think for those cases, there's a sort of a different set of potential solutions that we're intrigued in. At this point, we're trying to target, I think, sort of what we saw as sort of the repair, maintenance, burning pain issues, but there's definitely the enhance my homeownership experience that I think we are definitely intrigued in, and we just sort of don't have the bandwidth at this point, and decided to not look at that yet. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I think you could see kind of some small samplings of us recognizing this desire in some homeowners as well. So the DIY coaching and the home expert on call is more like the person that doesn't just want to outsource, but actually wants to build up those skills themselves, but just, they're sick of taking like 12 trips to Home Depot over the weekend and pausing and playing a YouTube video that actually doesn't relate to them, while they're trying to do this DIY project that they're taking on. So I think that what you're seeing in the Rosie and Ross solution right now, as Eric mentioned, is a pretty focused solution towards some of the bigger problems that we see around repairs and maintenance. But ultimately, our vision is making homeownership awesome. So we do want to expand into that space. We're just still kind of in the learning phase and staying really focused and not quite scaling to other value props yet. But it's an awesome point and something that we definitely want to accomplish.
I'll turn that back to you. Like, what do you have thoughts on how you could increase your relationship with your home or make
So I'm not a homeowner. Okay. Let me preface that. I just know a number of people that own homes, like my family and whatnot. And I just know there's a number of learning experiences that come with owning a home, having to repair gutters or the roof or the door or the windows or the carpet or, cabinets in the kitchen, and all these little things that are tasks that in my mind I'm understanding Rosie and Ross would help the homeowner complete. And if there was a component to Rosie and Ross where you are able to help not only solve the problem, but build a capacity so in the future if something similar happens, the homeowner is going to know what they need to do, and they have that education through Rosie and Ross, and that's invaluable at that point. And I think it would help the homeowner continue to go through Rosie and Ross for services that they don't know. And then just in terms of having that positive touch point, then the homeowner is going to think of that experience, that knowledge is associated with American Families. So you have that leverage point, and that would grow over time as more capacities are built.
Well, just to answer a little bit more, I think that's sort of been fundamental to what we've been doing. All of our interactions are highly customized at this point. So when we get someone who wants more information, it's my job to research. I'll give them articles on what I think they should learn, and articles about zoning laws in their area, and all sorts of things to help build them. Links to energy efficiency, organizations in their state. So we do give them that. At the same time, there's a fine line between giving them information and just shoving a bunch more data in people's faces. So it's been interesting to walk that line. We want to make a very surgical value with that information that we give.
And just to clarify, I'm not saying just give them the dump truck and just here's all the information, but when you provide a service or when you're working with a contractor, and I don't know if this is even possible, but if there's a way to build capacity in the process of providing a service, so maybe they don't need to necessarily go through someone else in the future. Like they know how. I don't know what that would be, but if you're teaching people along the way to have a better relationship with their home, they understand various processes. They're empowered, and that empowerment, I think, goes a long ways in the future if you're wanting to have this positive touch point, because the empowerment becomes the positive touch point.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's a good point. We're trying to, right now it's all very, we're constantly concierge manual, but I think we're trying to, I think Rebecca said, like one of the first questions Rebecca asked, like, so do you want to DIY this, or do you want to just us to handle everything? And we're trying to sort of gauge that sort of the need or the wants of the homeowner of like what do they want, the information, the coaching, or the just do it for me. We're trying to figure that out.
Move.
Very complicated.
Always the best most of the time. That doesn't give you the best outcome for your money. So if you have water in your basement, you know, we educate a lot of people about landscaping. Like 80 to 90% of water is just grade and gravity. And water always wins. So we do a lot of overall, I think we're very holistic in our approach, and that's one of the things we do is, you say you want a bathroom remodel, we look and we see how that integrates with your whole house. Is that going to cause problems, you know, here? Does that really solve what you're looking for? So I feel like people have been getting a pretty good education. That said, because homes always change, they're going to know that basic thing. Hey, I need to now look at where water goes when it rains. Does it go away from my house? So the macro kind of information I think they've been getting. But when they need some work done, the whole sort of, you know, ecosystem has changed by that point. You know, if it's a couple years down the road, they still might need that. They're not just going to know what to do in every case.
I think we have time for 2 more quick questions.
Thanks. So I'm real intrigued by this. You know, this building up this interesting data about your house. I think that'd be really valuable to have as a homeowner. But it kind of brings up questions about privacy and security, right? It's kind of like a medical record to some extent, and your house is, you know, very major investment. And information about that could be very powerful, and you've explained some of the ways you could use it with the reminders and so forth. But it could also be, you know, exploited by, you know, bad folks, or it could be, you know, even used by an insurance company in a way that's maybe not advantageous to you as the homeowner. So I wonder how much you've thought about, you know, data ownership and privacy and security models around that.
Yeah, that's definitely a really important topic, and especially coming from an insurance company, something that we're always thinking about as we're kind of stewards of a lot of people's data as well. And it's, as we're early on, and you know, we're kind of looking at some solutions that exist in the marketplace currently and seeing what's valuable to homeowners, and whether we end up building our own potential solution or partnering, like that's going to be something that we have to do some serious due diligence on, to make sure that the data is protected and safe, and that it's, you know, we don't want to get in the business of selling data. Like that's, I think, a really easy revenue stream is just being able to sell home data, but we want to, as we're the trusted partners for homeowners, we want to make sure that we're protecting that data and using it in ways that's helpful to them.
I think, I mean, it's easy to say this, but our belief is, like, we all know Google's using our data, but we still use it because it's adding enough value to our lives and their suite of products. And so we're trying to take it from, again, like, let's try to focus on where we think we can add the most value and then still collect data. And if people aren't comfortable with that, then we have to probably look for a new solution or, you know, pivot our business model. So we're starting from if we add enough value, people will be okay with it. And we've done some initial testings around that, and it seems like some people are somewhat okay with it. So obviously it's early testing, but we're definitely aware, and I think that's a very fair point, is how's the data being used, and if we feel like we can add enough value, I think that critique or assumption sort of gets minimized. Easy to say, hard to do.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like Rebecca may be the trusted personal assistant for Rosie and Ross at this time? At this time, okay. Just wondering how you anticipate scaling that up, and then as you do that, do those folks, what kind of qualifications do you anticipate those folks will have, and how would you communicate that that customers should give Rosie and Ross the trust that you need them to give you in order to be able to do what you want to do?
Right. I was just asked to think about this question. That's how new it is. So I'm a licensed home inspector with the state of Wisconsin. I have a background in I was a PhD candidate here at UW prior to that, so I have a varied background. I think it's served me well in home inspecting because it's not just about technical data. Anyone can learn how to do it. It's just building science. It's about being able to go in and kind of see as much as possible and talk to people about it. So how I would scale that, I haven't even given these guys any answers because just came up yesterday. So I'm sort of thinking on the fly, but there are a lot of inspectors, if you go to inspector conferences, they come from a wild variety of backgrounds. I mean, stockbrokers, everybody, decides, hey, I think I'll just do home inspection. So they have that kind of well-roundedness in general, even though we may not look like it when we show up with all our gear. And then it's just, I think it's a combination of experience, well-roundedness, and then technical ability, because as I'm seeing with this job, is it's not just home inspection, but it's nice to have a background in the codes of different areas, housing codes. As home inspectors, residential home inspectors, we're not building inspectors, so we don't say, code A150 this. We're not legally allowed to. So we learn things in terms of safety and health and anything that affects the the value of the home in a very stark way, but we don't necessarily learn the numbers of the codes and everything. And I can see that having a deeper knowledge of city codes and building codes, just to be able to help people zoning codes and stuff like that, would be best. But just to reproduce what I've been doing, I would probably take someone either who hasn't been in the construction area for a long time, or someone who's well-rounded, and just train them to this capacity. That's my best answer today.
I'd also add so Rebecca's our only in-house sort of expert at this point, but we've worked with several, probably, 7 to 10 other people with various, come from retired general contractors and their knees ache and they don't want to swing a hammer anymore, to other people, and they all love this type of work. I think this consultative sort of personal home assistant is very liberating to them, I think, to a certain extent. And Rebecca's mentioned this a lot, where in her current inspector role is very time boxed and very controlled around the home sale process, and they don't want to upset the realtor sort of dynamic, and they don't want to really the home is the customer, not the buyers. And so there's some interesting dynamics to that relationship where this sort of helps you, I think, connect and actually add a little bit deeper level of value than they're somewhat accustomed to in sort of the current business model for inspectors or contractors. So finding talented people is really, that is hard. We don't want to minimize finding good people that are knowledgeable. But we think with some digital tools, you can scale up her capacity. And then also with the fact that we're adding some value to them and an experience and role that they have more fun doing, I think that's an important factor in this too. But yeah, that's something we would need to solve for.
Do you have any suggestions?
An ex-home inspector, will all the trusted advisors have that same kind of qualification, or retired contractors, as you mentioned? How to compensate them? I'm sure they're not doing it of their own goodwill, but they probably want to get something for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's several models. There's the 1099 model, on-demand model. Another model is they try to go into a city and hire one or a team of 2 or 3 experts, and they can sort of they can manage all the client load in a city, and you can sort of grow it out that way. And so just we don't know yet. We're sort of proof of concept at this point on just, I think, more of the value for the homeowner.
The Uber of home repair.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, Kristen, and Eric. Thank you to Field 59 and Robert W. Baird and 100 State for the coffee. And thank you to all of you for coming. I think maybe the 3 of you could stick around if anyone has any other questions about squirrel infestation or business modeling or anything. So thank you very much, and keep coming back.
Thanks.